Yo, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to start off with my first movie review being one of the Severin films that I picked up from their new Black Friday releases, and it's none other than Rats, Night of Terror.
Rats. What do they want from us? Rats. Why are they man's enemy? Rats. They are watching and waiting. Rats. Their time has come.
Doesn't that look terrifying? There's nothing scarier than a bunch of white rats painted black, but we'll get into that later. So this film was directed by Bruno Mattei, and one of the screenwriters was the legendary Claudio Fragasso, who is known for Troll 2, one of the best, worst movies of all time. Yes, it's the famous "Oh my God" clip. Bruno Mattei was known for Hell the Living Dead, which is an all-time Italian zombie horror masterpiece. So yeah, from what I understand, Bruno Mattei was pretty hands-off directing this film, and Claudio Fragasso was the main director in this, even though he is uncredited. He talks about that on the feature-length documentary on the special features of this release. He also says that this was heavily inspired by Mad Max, which, I mean, really the only thing that I can tell that would have any inspiration from Mad Max would be the outfits of the characters. But yeah, so this takes place in the year 2015. It's 30 years after a bunch of atomic bombs went off and pretty much destroyed civilization. And there's a new race of people called primitives that are basically just raiders searching for resources and a place to live. Before I continue, at the very beginning of the movie, one of the characters' names is Deus, and he looks almost identical to Saitama from One Punch Man. If you guys have ever seen that anime, he's not bald, but he has a tiny little strip of hair if that was shaved, and he had a white cape. It's uncanny. It looks almost identical to him. It's so funny. So yeah, basically these raiders, they find paradise, or what they think is paradise, and there's purified water, vegetables, and fruit growing, and they think everything is just perfect, and they're loving all the food that they found, and they're eating it and having a great time. And they start seeing rats all over. There's rats that have infested their water supply and their plants and everything that's been there. So yeah, they're going in the drinking water and all that, and they're just ruining their place that they found to stay, pretty much. And the rats start slowly killing them all off one by one. There's some really cool effects in this. One of my favorites, there's a scene where one of the girls is found dead, wrapped up naked in a sleeping bag, and a rat is like slowly just like poking its head out of her mouth. Her mouth opens up slowly. It's so creepy and effective. I loved it. There's also another scene where one of the guys gets killed, and he falls on the ground, and his back like rips open, and these rats just come spilling out, and it's so grotesque and over the top, and the special effects are just amazing. There's a lot going on in this, and a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense per Claudio Fragasso's usual movies, but that just adds to the charm of it. For instance, one moment they're having to ward off rats with a flamethrower, and then the next moment they're just walking through them all silently, and it doesn't make sense because it's literally one scene after the other like that. But yeah, so I don't want to spoil the ending of it for anyone that hasn't seen it. I know it's an old movie, but the ending is just, it's freaking bonkers. You have to see it to believe it. But so yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I think I'll be watching it again someday. I didn't watch all the special features because I like to just watch a little bit every time I watch the movie. That's always how I've been. So getting into the history of this release. So it was first released by Anchor Bay Entertainment on DVD in 2005 in a Fright Pack. And then Blue Underground also did a DVD and Blu-ray double pack of this and Hell the Living Dead. And then not long ago, 88 Films released a Blu-ray release of this, which I didn't have. This is the first time I've ever owned this movie. This is the first time I've ever seen this movie. I've wanted to see it for a long time. I heard about it on the In Search of Darkness 80s documentary. Greta talks a lot about it, which is awesome. I absolutely love her. But getting into the features on the Blu-ray disc, so you have Mad Rats: The Making of a Cult, featuring co-writer slash uncredited co-director Claudio Fragasso and the rest of the cast, which I watched that. It's about a 55-minute documentary. It was very interesting. Lots of interesting stuff in this. So you can tell that the mice are painted black because, I mean, black mice usually don't have red eyes. So you could tell that they were painted black. And the way that they did it, one of the cast members talks about the way that they did it, and it's so cruel. They would never be able to get away with this today. So he said that they would bring in white lab mice in a big like bucket, and they would pretty much dump this like non-toxic oil and just stir them around like soup, like violently, which is just, it's crazy to me that there wasn't an easier way to do that. Unfortunately, movies back then, they like foreign films, they had a lot of animal cruelty. I just think about Cannibal Holocaust and the turtle scene and the monkey scene, which just, it's, I mean, it gets under my skin, but I understand that the times were different back then. So that's really interesting. And another thing that was very cruel is there's a scene with a flamethrower, and they actually physically killed rats shooting that scene, which is just, it's crazy to me. But this is the slipcover, which is really, really clean. I love it. It says Mutants of a Nuclear Disaster. And then on the back, it says, it's a great movie, a movie that you can tell people about, and they'll say, that's not a real movie, but it totally is, which is, it just sums this up perfectly. So yeah, overall, it was a really, really fun release. I recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it before. I'm a big fan of Italian horror. I haven't been into Italian horror for a super long time. I'm still new to it, but what I've seen, I've really liked a lot. But yeah, that's my review, and thanks for checking it out. Peace.